Alright, this is JBM. I'm going solo on this review. I just checked out Edit Pro TV, a guy that I know on YouTube. He did what he calls a sick edit of like extended death scenes and extended scenes on and slow motion on some scenes that he did for the movie that ended up being a 90-minute cut of the movie. So check it out on YouTube. That's the version that I'm gonna review. He got me hyped up wanting to see this after he did a trailer for it and was talking about it for a few weeks, and it's finally out on YouTube. I'll send it as a video response or something. I know it was definitely a tough job trying to edit all that footage, so definitely a good job. So check it out if you get a chance. So this is the third one. They came out in 1990, and if you know, like, you know how you know if, like, whatever year a movie comes out, you can pretty much guess what kind of atmosphere the movie has. Well, yeah, this reeks of the late 80s. That's one thing about this franchise. The first one, which came out in the mid-70s, was classic, obviously, filmed on that grainy 16mm documentary film style camera. Just classic. You can't even recapture that. If they would have gone back to this franchise in the early 80s, it would have been a different outcome, because you know how like the late 80s are like that kind of like cheesy, overly comedy, goofball 80s style movies that they did with their horrors. That's how the second and third one ended up. The third one, they actually more grounded in horror. The second one is, well, everyone knows the atmosphere of that damn movie. And they end up like, and this is like a sequel slash reboot, because they ended up like basically like at the end of number 2, everyone knows like they ended up like killing everyone with like a cave-in of a bomb or some stupid shit. But the scenes that I like from 2 is when they show Grandpa again. Those scenes are really scary and dark. I love the atmosphere of those, the tone of those, of the second film. And I love the cooking scene with Drayton Sawyer winning the cook-off. They actually did that in a Texas Chainsaw Massacre comic book, which I collect. Huge fan of this franchise. Check out the comic books that came out in the 2000s. Those are awesome. It does it in the same world as the Platinum Dunes remake. And obviously they're rebooting it again with Lionsgate, and they got up the rights to do 7 movies. And that's a whole nother story. I could talk about that forever. But I'm gonna go over a few scenes that stood out to me. So yeah, they rebooted it and they like killed off the family. So then, like, as we know, like they brought in all new characters for the Sawyer family, even though it's like one of those things you gotta buy into on the fly, kind of like Carrie Tate with H2O and her having some bastard child, or Sleepaway Camp, how they've like have a bunch of different versions of Angela like throughout the franchise, and they call the 5th one the second one, and they ignored the second and third one, and the 4th one is one on its own that just finally came out. Yeah, that's Sleepaway Camp. Anyway, I'm done talking about Sleepaway Camp. After the 2 kids, the main group is only like 2 kids, and obviously they're not likable. It's a stupid noble girl. They call her Daddy's Girl in this, so she's so innocent. You know she's never gonna say anything funny or anything. And no, so they have and her brother, who's like fucking a nerd, of course. So he's the douchebag and the nerd all combined in one character, since there's only 2 of them. And after the altercation with the creepy gas station attendant, like, and Viggo Mortensen, they try to convince us that Viggo's not in. I don't know, maybe if you saw it back then, they didn't do it in the trailers. I don't know the original trailers, if they spoil that Viggo Mortensen is already in on it or not. But he stands up for them after he sees whatchamacallit, a grown-up version of Jedediah, like looking through the peephole like he's Norman Bates in Psycho or something. Or like the kids from Bloody Birthday 1981. And then he ends up like, then they end up going away, as we know, and they run into like Leatherface. Let me restart the freaking soundtrack for this. Then they run into Leatherface in the dark, and he like rips the bumper off like he's Tokar and Razor from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2. And then they drive away, and it's like in the night filler, and then they like get in a car accident with the Benny, the token black guy in this, who's like the guy who played like Keenan and Kel's dad or something. I think it is the guy. It looks just like him, and then like the black guy Benny, he's like keeping his cool the whole time, like totally in his own world. Like, yeah, I've driven these roads for years. Pipe it down, and then like pre-med boy is like flipping out. He's like using like medical lingo, like he's like so freaking better than everyone, and he's just gonna prove it. And he's like, dude, we're being hunted, and the black guy's like, it's alright. It's alright. A lot of people hunt around here. I see. And he's like, it's a lumberjack in Texas, and they're out in the middle of like the desert. It like feels like Arizona at first. I looked in Wikipedia, did some. I couldn't find where they actually filmed it, and I got another thing to say about the location later in this fucking review when I get to it. And let me just go on. So they go to the next. That one traumatized girl from the beginning. She That's the best death of the movie. This death is so sick. This is awesome edited. He like edited it so that it like went on extended really long, and there was like a lot of blood. It almost felt like real life. Like if you saw someone like that's like almost what would happen if you stuck a chainsaw right into someone's stomach. It would be like that much blood, like for that long and that hard to grind through it. It was fucked up. It was one of the best kills in Texas Chainsaw Massacre history. I don't know if his editing it definitely had something to do because he just went on. And I heard that the original theatrical version is all just like cut down and whatnot. And obviously that's why there's a bunch of extended and unrated versions, and he combined them all together. Edit Pro TV, check it out. So then like the main girl like walks up into the house, of course. She's not running away. She's running away and runs into the house, of course, and she sees like the girl version of Jedediah. And Viggo Mortensen character finally reveals that he's part of the Sawyer family, as we know. And then he delivers one of the best lines in the movie. He's just like, they just get dumber and dumber, don't they? That's a great line. You gotta love psychopathic quotes. And then I love the prop for the grandpa in this movie. It looks really fucking great. I mean, and then she like feeds him with the blood. It's just a beautiful shot, and it like goes on for a while, and it's like so much blood. The grandpa might be one of my favorite characters from the series through on out. He was like a legend. He was like a serial killer like in the Industrial Revolution era. Because he's like 134, they say, on the list of characters of Wikipedia. And that's in the first movie. That's... Grandpa's a legend. He was about past his time after the silent film era. But he still needs a shot of blood. It's just classic. That just provides so much character to the Sawyer family. It's just great. I'm gonna restart it real quick. And then the next 20 minutes plays out like an average like Tuesday night for like the Sawyer family. They're like torturing and like cutting their fresh meat like filler. And then Benny shows up at the house like a 90s action movie, and he like starts shooting it all up. It's like, and you know how 90s action movies are like overly action packed, like, and it's like it'll do slow-mo and it'll be like all these guns and explosions and shit. Yeah, that's what it kind of turns into for a while. And then they like set a stuntman on fire, who's supposed to be Viggo Mortensen, just because they can. And then Benny and the girl and Leatherface all end up like wrestling in the swamp, like a wet t-shirt contest style, like, even though they're like in the fucking desert or some shit. And that's another fucking thing. Like, the reboot's supposed to be like, they're supposed to be shooting it in Louisiana, so it's gonna be like the Bayou Leatherface. If they show any wetland, I'm gonna be pissed. Not to say that there's not swamps or wetland in Texas, but you need that Texas Chainsaw Massacre deserted out in the country feel of just farmland and absence of cattle with slowly decaying. It's like the Gotham City of Texas. Not really, but you get what I'm saying. They're both decaying. Anyway, and then Michelle like bangs his head, like the main girl. She like bangs his head like Victor Crowley style with the rock. And then he decides to do the alternate ending, I guess. I didn't even see the original ending. It's somewhere on YouTube, but I was reading the ending. Some stupid shit happens, like they're all woken up in the morning on the road, all traumatized, and like Benny shows up in his truck like it's fixed or some shit, and like goes to pick her up, and then Everett like comes with a sledgehammer, and they get away, I guess. Like, two of them get away, even though there was only like 3 victims to begin with, and like 2 of them survive, and you're like, really? They just have like, they were supposed to do like sequels. This was like the first film for New Line Cinema of like when they acquired the rights for Leatherface, and they like kill off the Sawyer family. I don't know what the hell New Line was thinking. And then they got like shit for from the Motion Picture Association or whatever. So they put this franchise on the back burner for a few years. Obviously, did the Matthew McConaughey hardcore mid-90s version of it, which is basically almost this version. I also gotta mention the old lady in this with the freaking voice activator. Oh my god, that reminds me of another movie, Return to Sleepaway Camp. Came out officially in '08. Watch the Sleepaway Camp franchise. You won't be, not just the first one. Everyone just talks about the first one because of the shock ending. Watch the second and third one. Oh my god, they're just great. Angela's kills are just so creative. Anyway, so like I was saying, but they made Leatherface live in the original ending or whatever. That's all I have to say about that at the ending. And then so yeah, awesome job, Matt. Thanks for uploading it and telling me about it. Edit Pro TV, check them out. This was JBM. I'd give it a 7.5 out of 10. You can't go higher than that, but you can't go any lower than that because of some really classic moments, and it's fucking Leatherface. You gotta enjoy it. Everyone who's a horror fan enjoys this franchise. This was JBM.